Thank you, everybody, for joining me one more time here at the Market Recap Show. Big shout out to Brian Shawn, who's going to be joining us very, very soon as we'll go over some Q&A. Shout out to Bears vs. Bulls, who's going to be taking those down. If you do have any questions for Mr. Brian Shawn, and maybe you didn't hear in the normal show, join me right here. RIP Coinbase. I don't know what's going on with Coinbase right now. Is that going to the downside? Why did someone just say that? Oh, I typed in RIP. That's hilarious. All right, let's go over to Coinbase, see if there's anything happening. No, there is not. So we'll watch out for Coinbase today. Good day here. I lost the heat maps here, so I don't really know how to get that going again, so we'll wait for that. I'm going to take Benzinga out of my ear, but we do have this show sponsored by Benzinga Pro. So the minute Funware, we talked about there, we'll talk a little bit about Funware and Clover. Crypto had a move today, boy. We will go over that in just a second. So the minute we see, I guess, either one of those names, shout me out in the chat, and we'll see if we can get to that in the chat, in that. ASAP. So there it is right now. Shout out to everybody who's here right now as well. Brian Shannon is the GOAT. So shout out to whoever mentioned that, Jason Walcott, here as we go. Right click on the top of the list. So show tree map. Okay, so right here, highlight here, right click at the top of the list. Show tree map. Yeah, so I don't see that here. Show tree map, show strategy menu, I see. All right, I feel like this is probably not the right version again. So, all right, thank you for that, Michael Noss. We'll deal with that after. But all right, so far today, what was moving around today? Let's go over a sector recap real quick, man. FXI today, you could see another 2.1%. Nice move to the upside. Let me just switch this over. See the daily chart. FXI starting to break higher. We've been talking about China. Good, hotter CPI print, 0.7 versus 0.3, but continues to go to the upside. And for me, we had written down on the sticky note today, Alibaba. We really like Alibaba. It's a good little level there. To the upside goes Alibaba today. And you know what? We marked down, it's up 1.62%. We marked down today that the levels that we liked for Alibaba was $75. So there's Alibaba, dipped it down in. We didn't have any bids down there. We should have. Nice move upside for Alibaba. And again, I apologize. You're not going to be able to see this, but you know what? I mean, if you bear with me for a second, Michael did send me something here. Maybe I'll just try to download, copy, and paste this into Trade Ideas real quick. I do apologize, but this is what happens when we do this. Load from cloud right here. Copy, paste it, hit load, and see what happens right now. Nah, so still not loading. I probably have the wrong version right now, so I apologize for that one. It's okay. Should have checked it myself afterwards. That's my bad, so I apologize to everybody. Okay, is Funware out right now? Yes, no. We'll go back to a 1-minute chart here to see if Funware is trying to go. Nice little move back to 1045 here. Let me just go over some sectors because honestly, unless Funware or Clover does something, I don't know. I mean, Clover up to 82, down to 76. We're not super excited here for anything into the close. XLV today, so we're just going to look at the close into today. So the change into the close, we'll sort of sort this. And again, I do apologize. XLK today up 2.1%. Nice move. We saw all the big, hey, wait a second, where's my heat map? That's also not on here anymore. So I'm going to have to, oh man, today we are fumbling around. Brendo, could you message me? Actually, he already sent it to me before. I'm going to find this in 1 second here. I'm going to get the tree map going because this is very important. I really like to look at this here. This is from TradingView. So if you get over and look, we can see some of the more aggressive names today. So get my face off here and we'll have a look to see what's at the bottom. Oracle, nice move off earnings today, up 11%. We could definitely have a look at that. Google, Meta, all starting to go. You can see here NVDA, the big one, man. Congratulations to NVIDIA. Up 6.25%, continues to go. Eli Lilly, another one, up 3% today as well. Good recovery for Eli Lilly as the healthcare sector upside today. Amazon and Walmart with a nice move up 1.15%. Some banks, JP Morgan, nice upside. My play, Adobe, nice upside as well. Adobe's coming out, guys, Thursday night. So look at Adobe, nice little move up. We talked about this on the podcast. Let's maybe look at a 5-minute chart for Adobe. So if you took this yesterday, we recommended this on Friday. The best you could have got was 552. Nice move all the way to the upside, 580 today for Adobe. And again, look at the daily chart for this name. Bouncing off the 200 period moving average. I really like that play. 200 period moving average, for Adobe, looking pretty good right here. Trying to bounce to the high side. Look at the 50. Now, don't get stuck with PAN-W. Remember we talked about PAN-W. It hit the 200 period moving average, and we were like, yeah, man, what a good long that was down there. But look what happened. It bounced all the way back up to the 50 period, up at 325, and then got hit right back in. So if you treat Adobe like PAN-W, there's the hit into 550. Here's the move back. You may want to consider dumping some before earnings comes in and around that 585 area. That's Adobe. Nice move back upside. So what was red today? Well, that would be what's down here. We have tan. Really strange because yesterday we had an upside move in solar names, and today pulling back in again. Looks like we're gonna have a problem with $48 here on tan. Nice brush to the upside, and then a fade right back down into $42 for tan. Not a good one. UNG also trying to go lower. We had some notes there on UNG today. Let me just double check them because it was a nice move for UNG. Downside last week. EIA report lower than expected withdrawal. 40 billion cubic feet. Again, expected 72. So we get UNG on Thursday. So tomorrow being Wednesday, we'll get oil, then we'll get nat gas on Thursday. And you can see lower than expected drawdown last week. So that's not going to help as the zooming on this doesn't seem to only want to go one way as there it goes. Go, 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 go. There it is. So there's the move yesterday, last Thursday. If we go over to the chart, Fabian, there it goes. Thank you. Nice move down into 1530 right now. That's that low that we're trying to focus on for UNG down there at 1460, looking like a good little level. Rounding off some of the negative spots today, TAN down today 3.8%. Sorry, 3.8%. Yeah, UNG down. The Treasury down. TLT down 0.8. It's been doing pretty good, trying to hold out on the 200 period. I'm not into TLT, but if you are, watch out for this. Potential break level down to $92 there. XLF today holding on to green, but look at XLF. As we talked about JP Morgan and some of these bank names continuing to go higher. All right, is Funware out? Let's go find out over here. Looks like Clover is out now, so let's go over to Clover and see what that's doing. CLOV. Now, ooh, is that an upside move for Clover I'm seeing on the 5-minute chart? Okay, I see you, Clover. Let's drop it down to 1 minute and go find this out right now. You can see right now, man, we are streaming everywhere. TikTok. Are we streaming this on TikTok? Yeah. Instagram. Our little portrait mode. You can go find out that. You do a dance, Fabian. We need a dance thing here. We'll just go calculation. Oh, we'll go bang as we start to figure out where we are. Soon to be on Twitch, potentially. Also Rumble. You know, Rumble's trying to get a deal with us. Right now, they're trying to work on the TikTok deal, but they're in our inbox as well. They're not, but we'll go potentially on Rumble. So it looks like Clover with a nice upside move. Let's see if we can find some numbers here for Clover. All right, so here's Clover. All right, forward insurance revenue, 1.25 to 1.3 billion. Seems to be a little higher than expected. I don't really see what they put out here today. Oh, here it is right here. Clover, fourth quarter, full year results coming out. Wow, I'm going to have to break through this. Looks like everything's green. 126 million full year, 24. Looks like a nice beat everywhere here for Clover. Only seeing green, baby. So Clover with a nice report here today to the upside. And hey, we'll take it no matter how we get it. It's Clover and it's upside right now, up 10%. Hey, you're trading penny stocks, you'll take this. Clover closes the day here, 79 up to 88. We'll take that. That's a good move upside for Clover. So again, with a short float coming through on Clover of 7.9%, we'll see if this continues a little bit higher. Let's check out Funware quickly here as well. And remember, if you do have any questions, just message me the questions. They're Bears versus Bulls. As I see we do have a couple, put them in the chat as we get ready to call on Brian. Let me know when Brian's ready because no problem. We'll bring him on at any time. Right now as Ramin goes, not yet. Funware up to 1050, 1040, kicking out right now as well. Oracle, let's talk about yesterday's earnings, right? Oracle, a very, very nice move into the daily level here of 130. Let's break this out maybe for a weekly chart for Oracle. And we talked about this earlier. Look, it actually closes pretty good, Oracle, so we're fine with it. But if you get this kind of wick high, what I like to think could happen here, this is a weekly chart. Let's go back over to a 3-minute chart. You see what happens here at the open on Oracle? So again, a nice move. Let's zoom this back out. Oracle opens up and just rips up into that past resistance, right? Into where we were in the pre-market. I'm always saying this about earnings plays. I'm going to have Hydration Nation first of all. Wow, that was a busy day, man. I still can't believe that NVDA trade, honestly. By the way, what red light am I looking at? This camera. All right. There's the pre-market take. So let me see if I can zoom this back out a little bit. So here's Oracle in the pre-market. Now, if you want to go long Oracle, in my opinion, you got to wait for two things. And honestly, this is not just because Brian's here, but he's taught me, and so has the book, you know, when there's a gap, so I had to think about the saying there, wait for VWAP. So I always think there's two possible trades here. Now, for some reason, VWAP's not on here right now, but here's Oracle in the pre-market. I'll talk about this play for me. I've had a problem with my layout. You guys know we normally do have that set up, but 130 as a top level right there. If we don't break the pre-market high, then I always say you want to try to fade that. So here's the 3-minute open for Oracle, comes up into 130, then hits down, and look where we bounce off of again, sort of where that pre-market bottom was. But that wasn't a pre-market bottom, that was right at 930. So when you already take that pre-market bottom, use this level, and that's right where we come into. So we talked about it on the sticky note, 124. It looks like 125 bottom for Oracle, but kind of put us to sleep a little bit during the day. Oracle not doing too much. I'm going to put on VWAP right now. So go into indicators right now. Moving average, there's VWAP. Let's just put it on. And I always say this, and again, I say this all the time on the show, and that is that when Adara was on, I said, put one thing on your chart. If you're going to use it, use the volume weighted average price. I think it gives a very, very easy indicator to work with in the beginning. Often when trading is happening above VWAP, you'll get a push back into it where you can see the action. And when we're trading underneath, often the price will float back up as big trading houses try to get closer to VWAP to close out their trade to make them look like they got a better price. We can actually ask Brian all about that for a much better explanation on trading VWAP. But that's what's happening right now. So we have Funware with a report, not doing anything. Clover with a report to the upside. And let's have a quick look at NVIDIA. Let me know when Brian's ready. We can call him in. Wow, NVIDIA. Mind blown right now, because now NVIDIA goes up to 922. When we're talking about highs here on NVIDIA, how high do we get? Because here's a daily chart. We touch 953, but we're getting close to the best close here on NVIDIA. Looks like 926, 925. Great move to the upside right here for NVDA, and it's continuing. Look what I did before we call on Brian, which is going to be momentarily. I just got to say congratulations to everybody that traded NVIDIA with me, because, yeah, Brian's ready, because look at these levels that we had, 901. We got out at 910. Face palm. Is that what they talk about these days? Let's go ask Brian. Mr. Brian Shannon, how are you? Where are you right now? It feels like you're out in the middle of a dark tunnel or field or something. What's up, Mr. Brian Shannon?
I'm deep underground, Shawn. I can't disclose my location.
Good, I like that. I know it's you and Zuckerberg are probably somewhere, in that bunker that he built. But what's up?
Bunker.
Thank you so much for coming through today, Brian. I really do appreciate that. I know we talk about trading intraday, but what a move we had at the end of the day there on NVIDIA. In that bunker of yours, were you able to see that move on NVIDIA? I saw you were attached to the show, but all the way up to 922. Maybe I can put you on the spot and talk about this, but what a good close to NVIDIA. How could have we seen that? Were there any squeeze indicators that maybe you saw there into the close?
I mean, it traded in a nice tight consolidation there for an hour and a half, 2 hours before it broke that little R2 of the day and took out the morning high, and it was off from there. I personally wasn't really paying attention to it. I saw you guys talking about it in the live room, but
Yep.
wasn't my play here late in the day. Not for me.
No, that was an absolutely wild day there on NVIDIA. We had yesterday, and we had Michael Noss on, and we talked about a name that someone asked him. We had a little bit of a Q&A with him as well, just at the end there, because someone asked him what his best swing trade idea is. I actually agree with him. I really like Roblox coming through here today. So maybe I can ask you about this. We did get a fade out on Roblox right here, and I realized that I switched this. Now we have view up on the daily chart, but right into here, Roblox, I kind of like dip buys into 40 bucks. We basically get that today. I see these bottoms in and around 38 and change. The 200-day moving average is down here at 37. Does Roblox look good for you for a little bit of a long, or are we just bouncing around maybe too choppy?
It's a little bit neutral in here for me. Looking at this weekly chart, you can see that's the 10-week, 20-week, and 30-week or 150-day moving average. Here's the anchor from the IPO, and from the all-time high, we've got it right here. As you know, so if we actually take a look at that one from the high, if I draw it properly, you can see we've kind of been stuck underneath that. Let's just change that to pink so it stands out.
All right.
You can see we've been stuck below the anchor from the peak. We've hit it on a number of occasions right here. Again, it came close actually on this one here. And the good thing is the more times it's being tested, the more likely it is going to break higher.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of the phrase, if they don't scare you out on the way down, they'll wear you out. And right now, I don't see any reason to hurry to get into this stock. It's just kind of neutral here. So it doesn't really have my interest so much, Shawn, but
Okay.
I can see why it's looking good for the longer term, but no hurry on it that I can see.
See, like right there, I just learned something else there. Like when we tank from a certain level and then they can't break it, I like that. Like, wearing you out. So that's a great little call there on Roblox again. So thank you so much for that. Feels like this has been, there's going to be a question that's going to come up here, and I've been talking about this a little bit as well. The SMH today gets another bump up because of NVIDIA, up another 3%. We definitely got a big, scary candle down, and I feel like the NASDAQ starting to head down on some chip worries there. But now I feel like we've just made a nice move back to the upside here, giving that 3% again, with NVIDIA bouncing off some of those lows in and around 850. Now trying to go back to the high side. SMCI gets added on March. Like SMCI, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but there's an index inclusion happening for SMCI as well on March 18th, possibly sending this name to the roof. So, what do you think about possibly the SMH just holding so much power here in the broader market? If this thing can't go down, I'm not sure the NASDAQ can either. Any opinions on that?
I agree. I mean, the semiconductors lead the Nasdaq. That's not
Right.
really for dispute. And the way it came back today really surprised me, especially there at the end of the day. It seemed as though we were stuck below this is the blue, the month-to-date anchor, and the anchor off of the all-time high, but we managed to push above it. And the buyers came in yesterday right at the anchor from this low right here, which is where we last touched the 20-day moving average as well. So right there, that is where we see, I think right now is going to be the key level. As long as we hold up above probably 217 and a half, let's just call it, then I think you have to be bullish, and you can't turn bearish yet on this thing. It's just not time for that.
No, I agree. I've sort of stopped selling. I thought I was doing pretty good selling at 780, then 880, and then all of a sudden, we see that 950 level and you wonder what you're doing. So we're going to hold off on that as well. Oh, shout out to Joe Schmo in the chat saying, I have his book. Let me know, Joe Schmo, if you like it or not. I'll find a copy of it. Oh, it's over here. Let me just reach over and see if I can get this without turning anything off. Here it is right now, anchored VWAP. Maximum trading gains right there. So go grab that. Thank you, Brian, for producing this. This is, in my opinion, one of the better books, especially for beginning traders, but also for myself. Over 22 years, learned a lot from that. All right, Brian, before we go over to a Q&A, anything particular on your mind that you want to discuss, or do we want to get right into it?
I think we can get right into it, Shawn. I mean, the strength of this market continues to the resilience really continues to surprise me. It seems as though, we had that hard sell-off in the semis, like you said, but no follow through to the downside. The buyers are right back. You just can't get bearish this thing until it actually rolls over. I've gotten cautious numerous times and, in my mind have thought, okay, this might be the beginning of something bigger, but then market price, prices turn right back up, and I've got to abandon any thoughts of a deeper pullback as soon as price tells me otherwise.
Brian, you're being called the Dark Knight right now in the chat. I think that's a compliment. I like
it. Yeah, sure.
A little bit of Batman action. I like that. Yeah, come over here to look at Microsoft. Talk about that. I thought that honestly, Brian, Microsoft was going to be, and Neil and I talked about this on the show. This was one of the names that I wanted to buy on dips. But guess how long that dip lasted? 2 days. We went from 413 into 400, and you're like, oh, okay, let's see if 400 holds. Well, did it hold? Yeah, it did. And now it's busting out through 415. I'm not sure Microsoft goes anywhere. I like it down here in and around 365. But if you were to put some sort of an anchored VWAP, or maybe where we could find some support, is 400 a decent starting point, or maybe that's a little bit too early to buy some of these dips into 400? One last question for me about Microsoft, and then we'll go over to the audience.
Yeah, if you look at my chart here,
Sure.
first, a lot of people talk about that we bounced from the 50-day moving average. That's that blue line right there. But really what's been most important, Shawn, is the green anchor from the beginning of the year. First 3 days of the year, sellers were in Microsoft a little bit. They held the anchor from this low over here, and then we bounced right at the year-to-date anchor here, and then came close to it yesterday. So that year-to-date anchor in that 400 level, and the market's been open 49 days, so you're going to see the 50-day moving average right next to that year-to-date anchor anyways.
Right.
But that's clearly the key level where if we break below that 400 and hold below it for more than a day or two, then I think you look at a deeper pullback. Until then, it's innocent until proven guilty.
Hey, why didn't I even figure it out? I was like, oh, wow, look, the anchored VWAP lines up with the 50 period. Like, okay, that makes sense. So right there, 50 days. So thank you so much for that. I agree. I'd like to buy some Microsoft down there. Okay, here we go. It's not really roll call, but we'll hit this anyways as we get ready to take questions from members of our audience. Okay, the very first question, and it's going to be about Adobe, Brian. So ADBE, shout out to Pranaya. I don't know if it's Pranaya or Pranaya, but shout out another long-term viewer of our show. So he says, can we take a look at some anchored levels? So specifically, Brian, some anchored levels here for Adobe. They do report, Brian, Adobe does come out on Thursday. This is a name that I'll give you a second to load it up, but this was a name that I was all over on the podcast. I really like their AI. I feel like, graphics, Gemini's been hit with some of the inappropriate, not inappropriate, but wrong graphics and AI generation. I still feel like Adobe has a role here, and I like Adobe for the bottom. Specifically, we bought it at 550 off the podcast on Friday, but it's a nice move now as we continue to go up to the upside 584. So first question to you about Adobe, Brian.
Right. So on the daily time frame, if you look right here, I just drew this in right now, but we had the anchor from this low back in May of last year. We touched it here, and then we pulled right back to it. And oddly enough, that was where we saw the 200-day moving average as well. But was it oddly enough? Because this line right here is where we were 200 days ago.
Okay.
So when we touched that, that was, basically from that anchor. So those lined up together again. But right now, I think there's probably a little bit of potential for some resistance up in this area, some supply to be released. This prior support, we've got a declining 20-day moving average. We are above that 20-day moving average, but we've got a declining 50-day moving average. The anchor off of this low, we're below. We can put an anchor off of this peak right here, and that's nice to see. We made it up through that one today, and the anchor from this high all kinds of comes together and says, I'd be careful around 585, 590.
Okay.
That's the potential level of supply. But if earnings do something here, then maybe we blast through that and it turns to support.
That's amazing. No matter how we get there, me and you just came up with the exact same levels. We mentioned possibly getting something out at the 50 period, running into some support. So great question there, and thank you for that. Brian Prania there in the chat. So, okay, next question. We're going to go with Stone Cold Stock Killer. You actually look a little bit like Stone Cold Steve Austin there, Brian, actually. All right, what stock, okay, and maybe this is better for me, but I'm gonna ask you, when a stock breaks a key level during the regular session, I guess, what is the best thing to watch? Level 2, time and sales, or volume? I mean, you're dealing with charts, right? So that question, I guess, level 2, right over here, time and sales or volume indicators. I'm going to throw out on a limb and just go with maybe, do you look at volume at all? Sometimes when key levels are broken to make sure that there's volume there, that would make sense.
I am aware of volume, although, a true breakout on volume is only for the daily timeframes, in
Okay.
my opinion. To me, it's more about what we see on the chart. I really don't pay too much attention to the level 2. My opinion there is it's generally just filled with lies. So when I look at a
Okay.
stock that's breaking support on a short-term time frame, I'm going to be looking at a 1-minute chart to really see, and then I will observe the volume and say, is it breaking down on heavy volume? Where's the next potential support level? Where is it, within multiple timeframes? How big is this intraday break?
Yeah, I was just looking at that level as well and thinking the same sort of thing, that when you're looking at, for me, I agree 100%. There's so many volume breaks that are dark pools that you get like 1,000,000 shares go off, and then you're looking in the middle of the day like, what was that? And then me and Neil go, well, just a dark pool, and then forget about it. So good comment there on the daily charts for that. So again, great question, and thank you so much, Brian, for that. I kind of knew that was going to be where we went with that. That was actually a question from when you were on around 3:30 and joined our show. So thank you for that question again. We just had one right here in the chat right now that I liked. So right here, live, Volcan. Hey, what's up? Shawn Katina, my brother from another mother. Hey, shout out, man. I always wanted another brother, although I have one and love him as well. What is your view, Brian? And we just talked about this on NVIDIA. Do we think that this $1,000 level, and I just think that this is important because NVIDIA had a nice move up there today, and we've seen NVIDIA bounce off 975. For me, I'm going to say, yeah, we go to 1,000. I don't see any reason for this name to stop. The short float's not an issue for me, but what about the talk of SMCI getting added to the S&P 500? That could help boost the sector. And then what about an upgrade potentially coming from NVIDIA? I have no idea. But if they can solve some of this China worries about shipping over some of those chips, I like it from sort of a macro standpoint. Maybe you can talk about the chances here going there on a technical standpoint. NVIDIA to 1,000 from a question from our viewers.
I think it's a lock, basically.
Okay.
I mean, once you get to this level, 1,000 just seems inevitable. You could draw a giant magnet up there, and it just seems like it will head right to it, similar to SMCI. The thing about SMCI being added to the S&P 500 we have to be aware of is that it's had such a big run, and it's continuing to display that strength. But this might be a case of buy the rumor, sell the news. So I would just be very careful around that if people are expecting a giant surge. I think there's people, bigger funds who've been riding this saying, hey, here's our chance for very large liquidity to get rid of some of these shares we've been holding throughout this rally, sell when we can, not when we have to, as the index buyers come in and snap up the shares.
Brian, we're getting over time right now, and I want to thank you, but can I ask you one more question? And would it be cool if we asked about Bitcoin? Are you looking at Bitcoin these days?
Yeah, I mean, it just continues to break out, and we had a slight pause at the at the breakout last week. We pulled back a little bit, have recovered since. This might be another one, Shawn, that has that round number draw to it. That maybe it's just heading for 100,000 ahead of the the halvening. We've got a month until that happens, so. I would say just keep ratcheting your stops up underneath it, but it sure seems like it's gravitating up towards that level.
It's unbelievable. I want to show Brian this in case he's not, he's probably seen it, but look at this weekly chart for Bitcoin here. If you can come over to my screen real quick. There's but one red week in here for Bitcoin. And then, just going back to basically the beginning of the year where we were 40,000, and then since then it's straight up and then taking out past highs. I agree with you, man. It feels like there's a magnet pulling that somewhere, and it's not lower, it's definitely higher. Brian, thank you so much for joining. Everybody can go find you at Alpha Trends. Go pick up the book as well. It's definitely a game changer for me, and I do appreciate all the time and the questions today. Thank you so much, Brian Shannon. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you, Shawn, and everyone tuning in. Have a good week.
Thank you, Brian. Ciao. That's our Trader Talk. And honestly, an amazing guest one more time there from Brian. So I just want to thank everybody for joining today. We did just have a move down in Coinbase. As Brian was talking, I didn't want to interrupt or anything. I wasn't sure what happened there on Coinbase. I guess Coinbase announces, oh, well, now I find out. There it is right here. Coinbase private offering right there of 1.5, not a milli, but a billy right there. So $1 billion worth of a private offering does send the stock down until they find buyers, and I guess they did. So right down there, 244. It's not by any stretch of the imagination anything to worry about for Coinbase, I wouldn't think, but maybe these candles are something there. Some rejection on the high side. We just talked about Bitcoin holding highs, and it does look like right now, Coinbase kind of rejecting back down. Look, we nailed some things today, man. We nailed a couple of our trades. We can go over the sticky note today if we want to. This was really fun trading NVDA with everybody at the end of the day. Too bad we got out at 9:10 as it rips to 9:22 here in the aftermarket. Thank you so much for Brian. Here's the sticky note. We talked about having a little bit of a review. Look, I wrote down CPI changes everything, and it did that. CPI downside move comes in at 3.9 versus 3.7, a little bit hotter on that, but it does send the NASDAQ up pretty much all day. After an initial move down, CPI continues to go long. We really love Alibaba long 75, and really, that printed all day, man. The only problem was, it wasn't super exciting. There was just more names to trade. But there's the Alibaba dip. And what I talked about printing all day, here's the move down in early, 940. We could have had that. It does go down to 75.20. Normally we're there buying that. I don't know why we weren't. That was a good call. And then it just printed. That's what I mean all day. In the afternoon, it's often tough to trade some of these Chinese ADRs we recognize. So, you know, Baba, not super exciting there into the end of the day. We did talk about this though. Oracle long off 124. Come on, Apple long off 172. I mean, some of these plays that just hit right there. Apple to the downside. Sure, we tried 172, and when this loads, you'll see what I'm talking about. We tried Apple 172.50 and 172. When that didn't work, we got out. It broke 172, and we just said that was our level. We're out of it. We kind of got excited and started buying a little bit more, and then ultimately put a line in the sand down here at 171. Watch that go all the way back up to the upside. Look at 172.50. Lot of action in there before we bounce up to 174. Getting hit a little bit here in the aftermarket. Don't know why that is. That's Apple, and then look, man, Oracle, and we got to get going here because my guy Fabian, again, everyone working late. We're not going to keep these guys, or myself anyway. Shout out to my family. Hey, it's March break. I hope everybody's having fun with their kids on spring break right now. But there's Oracle. We wrote down what level, guys? 124, or wait 10 minutes and see where VWAP is. Either way, there's 124. It gets down to 124.60 as a bottom. We nailed that one, but we don't have the long, so who really cares? It was a really fun day. I want to thank everybody for joining. I want to thank my guest, Brian Shannon, for another one, another great show. Join me tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have a few more runners into the close, but fun wearing Clover, tomorrow will be bigger names. Thank you so much. Over 3,000 still watching. I want to thank you for that. It's 4:30. We got to run. Join us. Trader TV Shawn on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm losing my voice, so I'll see you tomorrow. It's 4:30, but I'll see everybody at 8:30 tomorrow. Trader TV Live. Ciao.